Suspended African National Congress's Secretary General, Ace Magashule, and his 15 co-accused will be back for their pre-trial court appearance today at the Bloemfontein High Court. They are facing charges of fraud, corruption and money laundering relating to the alleged irregular awarding of the multi-million-rand asbestos roof removal contract. Meanwhile, President Cyril Ramaphosa will, for the next 2 days, also appear before the Commission of Inquiry into allegations of state capture in his capacity as the President and former Deputy President of the Republic of South Africa. To talk more about the legal and political ramifications for Ace Magashule and President Cyril Ramaphosa, we are joined by Professor Susan Booysen. She is a political analyst and visiting professor at the Wits School of Governance, as well as Advocate Paul Hoffman, Director at Accountability Now. Good to have both of you. Thanks so much for your time.
Good morning, Leanne.
Good morning.
Advocate, let me begin with you. I mean, we've crossed to our reporters. The security is very, very high outside the court, and the SANDF, the police, and also lots of worries about a flare-up of violence today ahead of this appearance. This is actually the third court appearance since ANC suspended Secretary General and former Free State Premier Ace Magashule and his co-accused were charged with their alleged involvement in the alleged irregular 255 million rand asbestos tender. This appearance will be a pre-trial hearing. So what should we expect to actually happen?
Well, good morning, Leanne. Good morning to your listeners, your viewers as well. Because it is only a pre-trial hearing, that no evidence is going to be led, charges will not be put yet. What is on the agenda this morning is preparing the case for the hearing. Now, we have heard noises emanating from Ace Magashule's lawyers that they are not satisfied that he has all the information that he requires in order to prepare properly for the case. So you can expect that at the very last minute, some sort of request for further information from the prosecution will be delivered. As of yesterday, the prosecution did make it public that they've yet to get any request for further information. But this is a pretty usual Stalingrad strategy. It has the effect of postponing the matter. Don't give the request in advance of the hearing, because lo and behold, maybe the request will be complied with and the hearing will not be delayed and thwarted, which is the standard strategy in matters of this nature, something practiced by Mr. Zuma for many years and now being perfected by Mr. Magashule in the Free State High Court.
So what we've also seen, and I'll stay with you, Advocate, just to follow on, Magashule has also reportedly approached the High Court to try and compel the NPA to disclose the full indictment in his corruption case after accusing them of omitting crucial information, which might expose the political machinations behind the decision to charge him with fraud, corruption and money laundering. And he also wants to be charged separately. So what are his chances of a successful argument here?
Yes, this is we're talking on the same topic, and this is the standard strategy.
Okay.
The prosecution says they know nothing about this approach to the High Court, and obviously, if he's seeking relief against the prosecution service, he ought to serve his papers on the prosecution service so that they can answer his complaints. It's conceivable that his trial will be separated from the trial of the co-accused. That is something that can be done in the interests of the proper administration of criminal justice. And if he has a genuine complaint about being kept in the dark concerning the nature of the claims against him, the court can come to his assistance and give an order that the National Prosecuting Authority provide such information as is relevant to the preparation of his defense on these very serious charges, which, if they stick, will carry with them a minimum sentence of 15 years.
Yeah. Advocate, I just wanted to ask you why. Why would it be a case, and why would it be possible that he would be charged separately?
He may take the line that his own defense will be prejudiced if he is in the dock with other people who may become squealers or turn state's evidence along the way. So he wants to keep his case pure, clean, and against him only. He may also have arguments about the delays in the matter that would be attributable to what is going on with the other accused rather than with his readiness to show his innocence.
Okay. All right. Professor Booysen, let's talk now about the political side of all of this. I mean, Magashule is also facing his suspension as the ANC Secretary General of the ANC. I mean, does this mean he has reached the end of his political life and career, even though he has always made a comeback when he had already been ruled out in the past?
You know, Magashule, as you implicate there, one can never be quite sure. He is a relatively young person, but he is also heavily implicated in so much wrongdoing, not just what we're seeing in the court now, but also in a wider spectrum. There is so much folklore, so many rumors on what has been going on around his political career. There was the book also by Peter Louis Myburgh that gave so much detail as to what may be involved. So we do not know exactly what the state of investigations are on other cases, but he could very well be tied right into a political corner here. And the charges, they have to run their course, but we can also expect that there will be all kinds of efforts, everything fathomable to get out of it, to get the charges rejected, discarded along the way. So he will definitely also be playing every trick, as we have seen from the Jacob Zuma play sheet.
Yeah. I mean, in Magashule's previous court appearances, I mean, we've seen a huge number of supporters that have been bussed in from different provinces, and some ANC leaders aligned to the Radical Economic Transformation Group being by his side and also being there at the court. And I did emphasize it at the beginning of our interview. I mean, there's a massive police presence with the SANDF there as well, barbed wire fences outside of that court, and also reports of threats of violence that may happen in the Free State with this case underway. So there's a lot of worry ahead of this court appearance. But my question to you is, do you think he still commands the support in the Free State and other provinces that he did in previous days, and what could it actually look like for him today?
I believe he does not command exactly the amount of support he had. There's no doubt that his support is wide range, that he has got a massive and a powerful patronage network across the Free State, in particular his big base, which remains a big base. But then power also speaks. As his power wanes, the longer he is out of the Secretary General position of the ANC, he has been out of the Premiership position now for a while, and this accumulates and other people slip into those political spaces. And as long as that power is not continuously activated and reactivated, it is going to fade. But then the power of protest on the ground, mobilization, and bussing in of people from probably across the province today, that could very well be a very powerful demonstration, which Magashule and the Zumas in the ANC would like to use as a subtle or probably not so subtle a threat. Given the July 2021 last month's experiences in South Africa, that power of threat is a huge one. So there will be a lot of eyes watching that to see whether it could be an outbreak again, as we saw last month. But then it is not quite comparable. We have seen other appearances by Magashule, other appearances by former President Zuma in court trials, where the mobilization has waned and no new faces were added to that. So we will be watching out for new developments there, but I think that star is waning, but it retains very powerful, explosive qualities which will be watched.
Yeah. I want to move on just in the interest of time. So we know what's happening with Magashule, and that is going to be happening. We'll also be getting more analysis from our reporters on this one. I also want to turn our attention to the other issue that's taking place today, and that, of course, is President Ramaphosa making his much-awaited return to the Commission of the inquiry into state capture. Advocate, let me come to you. I mean, Ramaphosa first appeared before the Commission in April. How accountable has he been on the role of the ANC's involvement in state capture?
Well, he certainly gave a lot of evidence and owned up to the practice of cadre deployment. That took up a lot of time during his evidence in his capacity as leader of the ANC. The evidence this week is going to be in his capacity as a leader of the country, as president, as head of state, and of course head of the national executive, because those two roles are one in our constitutional dispensation. He's going to be questioned, I imagine, on the compatibility of the motivation of the ANC. The ANC follows what is called the National Democratic Revolution. Those who are in government are obliged by their oath of office to uphold the Constitution. And I imagine that the advocates will explore the compatibility of the National Democratic Revolution with the values and tenets of our Constitution. So you will see things like accountability, openness, responsiveness being discussed in the context of how the country is run by a political party that has as its guiding star the National Democratic Revolution, in a legal dispensation where the supreme law is the Constitution, and the Constitution takes one on a different trajectory to that one that is expected by the National Democratic Revolution. Mm-hmm. There will be evidence about correcting the electoral system in order to make politicians in Parliament more accountable to the people and less accountable to their party bosses. And I am sure that the questions of cadre deployment and mending the anti-corruption machinery of state will come up in the course of the next couple of days while President Ramaphosa is giving his evidence and explaining the ramifications of state capture as they impact on the national executive in South Africa.
Which is vital, and I mean, what some would say it's still happening. I mean, when we saw this reshuffle happening recently, it's still the same theme that has been followed, and that's, you know, that is a great worry. But you know, this is still looking into the years, as you say, when the then President Jacob Zuma, he was deputy president, and Ramaphosa was the leader of business in government in a period where many SOEs, and this includes SAA and Eskom, faced financial and maladministration due to interference and alleged state capture. I mean, do you think we're going to get any answers today? Do you think he will give clear indications on what actually went wrong and name individuals directly involved?
Well, Mr. Ramaphosa's approach is to say that he is shocked by what he learns from the revelations at the Commission. But the problem is that he was the chairman of the cadre deployment committees at Lutuli House during the entire period that he was deputy president of South Africa. And he also was the leader of government business in Parliament because of his position as deputy president. So I think that he is going to be in quite a difficult position, especially when it comes to describing how it is possible to be loyal to the National Democratic Revolution and to the Constitution, both at the same time.
All right. My final question to you, Prof. Let me end off on this note. When Ramaphosa first appeared at the Commission earlier this year, he told the inquiry that the ANC had failed to stop the rot and that it was unable to make excuses for itself on why it had for years not acted on allegations within the party or initiated investigations through Parliament as early as 2011, when there were reports of the hands of Guptas in the setting up of former President Jacob Zuma's cabinet began to emerge. How damning is this for him as the current president and former deputy president of the party, as well as his capacity as the current president and former deputy president of this country? I mean, could his evidence also lead to a legal ramification for him?
Well, it could possibly, yes. We know it doesn't follow directly from the Zondo Commission, but it can certainly lead in due course to other charges. Should he implicate himself, should he not be able to explain? The broad themes, as Paul also indicated, are very difficult to explain away. We know from the last time there were so many cases where you say we could have done better, we should have taken action in better time. But it has a particular bearing too on his positions in the ESCOM war room that was responsible around from 2015 on for ESCOM turnaround. And I would love to hear his expositions as to the exact role of the deputy president and his role in particular in those cases. And also hear the story as to around 2016, how Jacob Zuma increasingly took away some of those responsibilities for SOE oversight in the presidency and for infrastructure oversight through those coordinating councils, commissions, taken away in some respects from Ramaphosa. I would like to hear those exact backstories there, up to the point in 2017, a year later, when Ramaphosa then, in full Nazaré campaign mode, said that all institutions, all SOEs in the state are captured. And I think around those fronts, Ramaphosa may find it easier to give details as to what transpired there and why he could not speak out. Was it possible that because he did not speak out, he retained his chances to become president of South Africa in due course, else he might have been booted out? I would be very interested today and tomorrow to hear to what extent political strategy and calculated Ramaphosaism, that long calculated game, was part of his, and will be part of his defense as to why more was not said when people like Mitsubishi Jonas, Nhlanhla Nene and others have been speaking out.
All right. We've got to leave it there. Thanks very much. It's a big day. It really is today. Lots that's going to be happening. Advocate Paul Hoffman, Director of Accountability now, and Professor Susan Booysen, Political Analyst and Wits Professor at the, Visiting Professor, I should say, at the Wits School of Governance, taking us through those two big events that are happening today.